In this tutorial, we will play with wet on wet watercolor washes and will create this watercolor scene. Hi friends, I am Vanidas Mangathil and let's learn watercolor together. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and click on that bell notification. Let's start the discussion. I have taken a cold pressed watercolor paper, around 300 GSM paper. The brand is an Indian brand, so you could use any 100% cotton watercolor papers for this. So I am going to wet the top area of the paper. I am going to wet it thoroughly, and I am using here a mop brush, and almost the top 2/3 I will be wetting it. And the idea is that I will just apply some wet on wet clouds, and then we will see how it progresses. How, depending upon how the sky comes up, we can decide what we should do next. So this is a way of doing it from imagination, not a very well planned approach. We are just starting with the washes, wet on wet washes, and we will see when we do wet on wet washes, what happens is we get unpredictable result. We get certain shapes, certain tones, etc. So we will observe that and then decide what we should do next. So I am starting with some sort of a cerulean blue kind of a color, and you see, in these approaches the colors doesn't actually matter much. So you could use any nearby colors or any other color scheme you can follow. You can use some maybe purple color or whatever you like. Any suitable color for the sky. You can use those. Okay, right. So I'm leaving some area untouched with colors, so that after merging of the colors, after spreading of the colors, you will still get some white areas in between, which might look like some clouds. Okay. So these are not well defined clouds, these are just very suggestive, subtle kind of clouds. And I am also making some touches of purple color. Okay, so just for some color variations. I think the sky area is reasonably okay, so we have to think what we want to do now. Okay, the sky looks good, and I wanted to make it very simple. I don't want to make it very complicated, so I just wanted to make it very simple. So what about something around the horizon? So I'm getting an idea that around this place I'll be placing the horizon, and I'm just applying some kind of a cobalt blue plus purple mix of colors, and that area is still wet, so I am allowing that to bleed down. Okay, so that at this point that appears something like some distant foliages or distant kind of a hill or something, and some amount of reflection, etc. So I just wanted to retain that sense of reflection, and the bottom area of the paper I wanted to make it some sort of a darker nearby water. Okay, so now it looks something like a blue sky with a little bit of clouds and some distant foliages and some reflections and some blue clean water. Okay, it is sort of a steady water, not much of reflections. If you want to add, I mean, when I say there is no much ripples, so it's kind of a steady water and no much ripples. At this point I have made it dry, because to add anything more, we cannot do it on wet. Any additional element, we can't let it spread, so the background should be dry. And I am thinking of a very suggestive, very simple boat. Okay, boat, and maybe a couple of people inside. See, I am not going for very detailed work here. These are simple practices that you can do to improve your washes, to improve your imagination, creativity, and the idea is that you practice more, your watercolor washes get better, your idea generation abilities get better, and you can come with more and more unique ideas by your own. So that is the objective that I am trying to get. I mean, objective of this particular exercise. Okay, so this is kind of an exercise. This is not a detailed and it is not a detailed work. Okay, it is just kind of a practice. Okay, if you think this tutorial is paying value to you, if you are finding it interesting and useful, please subscribe. Okay, please subscribe and click on that bell notification icon, and I will plan to give more and more videos, tutorials every week. And if you have any questions or suggestions or comments, okay, please write them into the comment box below. Your comments, your views and your thoughts will be great motivation for me, and I'll be more motivated to come up with tutorials, and so that we all can learn together. So by creating these videos, I also learn. So, and it's a win-win. Okay, so I also learn and you also learn. So please do support with by sharing your views and your thoughts. Okay, any suggestions, most welcome. So now the boat is somewhat ready, and the reflection, I am not making it very realistic. Okay, that is not the approach. Okay, if you wanted it to be realistic, you could do that. Another thing I would say is, see, I directly painted the boat and I am directly painting these figures. Okay, but if you are not confident enough, you could draw the boat and or whatever elements you are adding, you could draw it using a pencil. And since the paper is dry, you can use the pencil and you can then do the painting. You could make the drawing first itself at the very beginning, but I didn't go for that approach because I wanted some amount of freedom to define the elements at a later stage, depending upon how the washes turn out. So I wanted to give importance to the washes first and let the washes determine what is the next element to be added. So that is the reason I didn't make any drawing at the beginning. Okay, now this looks reasonably convincing. I wouldn't say that this is the most beautiful boat and figures in the world, but this is reasonably convincing. Okay, this is very tiny in size. See, the entire paper is slightly lesser than A4 size, so the figures are much smaller. Okay, right. So, at this point, actually, to be frank, I could add some ripples. And little bit more dynamism for the water. Some water movement I could suggest, but I am avoiding that at this point because I wanted to keep this tutorial simple. So maybe in a later tutorial we can discuss more about the ripples and more realistic reflections, etc. But this is a basic kind of tutorial, so we'll make it simple. I'll make some foreign boats, and since it is foreign, I'm leaving the color as a little darkish blue because of the color perspective. You wouldn't see the foreign things very bright, so I'm just making them very suggestive, just a line probably. I think this a simple line will do. Maybe I could try smudging it down, pulling it down with my fingers, which might suggest some reflections. Okay. Yeah, I think this much is sufficient for this particular tutorial, and I don't know, should we add anything more? See, to be frank, we could add a lot of things. We can make it much more interesting and realistic, but I don't want to go deviate from our initial task. Our task is to get practice with the free wet on wet washes, and practicing with washes and coming out with new ideas. Okay, that is the idea. Okay, so I'm touching some white with some Chinese white watercolors. It is not a gouache. My brush at this point was little I think polluted. There was some darker color within the strands of it, trapped within the strands, but that's okay. So I'm just thinking, whenever I'm silent, you can take that I'm sort of thinking if I need to add anything or not. I'm still thinking whether I should add some ripples or not. Should we add? I wouldn't want to make it complex. So let us leave the reflections for now, and I think we are pretty much done with this. Okay, so if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please do let me know. Write them into the comment box below. And once again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and press the bell notification. And if you have any questions, please ask them. I'll be happy to answer. I will try to find time and respond to your questions as early as possible. And thank you very much for watching this video, and we will see you in next tutorial. Thank you. Bye bye.